Hey people, this memory popped up on my Facebook today, and I'm glad that I had posted these because I've really lost track of time, but it lets me know that it was right on 5 years ago that I took my first DMT trip. And this is a picture I had taken when I put a digital camera on top of the roof. It looks like a hand reaching out. So the caption I put with it was, I talked to God again yesterday, burning bush and all. And got another line to the song we've been working on. We are the beautiful music of God. You know, it didn't create with a word, it was a whole orchestra. And he also said, Jesus ain't coming, your asses need to wake up. The Zionists are destroying your planet. So that last movie was boring as all hell. And it's because I had found that where the writings had changed, and I had went back to just show some words. But I had talked about the rape of the Sabine women. They're trying to turn this into a myth, Roman mythology. I was searching because I know years ago I saw in the Greek Bible, I'm sure it was in the Greek, that they said your wives are women, and then the word was Sabine. It may have been the Sabines. So I was searching to see if I could find it. And I run up on this on Timothy. And it was this word that I run up on. And they say it means she has brought up the children. And the word is the technotrophies in. And this gives me a better idea of what this word techno means. Because, you know, the trophies in, I showed you where they say trophies comes from the word turn, as in strophe, and apostrophe comes from the same place, a way to turn. You know, I wanted to put this in context to get a better idea, because some of these words was difficult and some of it was enlightening. So I went to check it in this Berean Bible, and then I went to this interlinear chapters to see if those titles would match up, and read a little bit to get this in context to better understand those words. And I read on down here, and sure enough I found this word Sabine in there. Who Sabine? EU. Who's Sabine? To be devout. And this is the word I've been searching for. I knew it was in the Old Testament where I saw it, so it won't come up in my word search. It only does the New Testament. And so I grabbed this word and searched it to see if I could find it where it was in the Old Testament where they said it was women. And dictionary says it's connected to Sabo. So I come down here where I saw it in Greek, the Sabine, and I hit the translator. And they say that means homosexuals. Your women were homosexuals. And so that's probably happened from the language change where they were trying to erase this story of the Sabine women being abducted, the rape of the Sabines. And they're trying to say it's just mythology now. And I'm not bashing the homos. It's I'm just trying to read the writings that they're trying to hide. But if you watch the end of that last boring movie I posted, if you made it to the end, that's what it says. When you stress the mother, when you stress the earth, that's what it's gonna give you. And I know from when I was growing weed, you could take a female plant at the end of a season and shock it and stress it, put ice on the roots, and it'll grow pollen balls, it'll morphodite and try to breed itself. And the same with the males, you keep clipping their pollen balls off, and they'll morphodite and they'll grow buds. And in the soil content, if you use a heritage seed, if you have a high nitrogen content in your soil, if the soil's rich, you'll get mostly females come up. But if your soil's weak, it's got low nitrogen, you end up with a bunch of male plants. And that's what that last movie I did was talking about. If you beat the mother, if you beat the earth, she's gonna get back. She's gonna give you these effeminate qualities, and that's what's happening now. When I was a kid, there was very few homos, and now they're trying to tell us that half the world is. You can find it here in this old of ancient Jewish and heathen testimonies to the truth of the Christian religion, with notes and observations. And this is from first published 1764. And so they'll change the language, but you can read the story and see that they were disobedient to God, is the way they'll say it. But you can see here, to Theon. Theon is the word they say is your God. Sabine. And it's impossible to read, but if you run your cursor over here, you can see it. To Theon, your God, Sabine. Homosexual. You can see it here, homo. The homos, O-M-O-I-O-S. You know, the same. So I'm going to pull this Greek off here, and I'm going to yell in some of these words that we recognize, and some of them just so we can better see them. And I'm going to paste it beside, and we'll cancel out all these words and see exactly what this says. So this is a free book you get on Google Books. And so I'm going to read this story here, and I'm going to go to where I got them side by side. But it says, sometime after this Monobazus, and you have to stop and look at all these names. Monobazus. One obeys us. Sometime after one obeys us, the father dies. The queen calls a council of her nobles and puts them in mind. The quote starts here. This is where it's in the ancient writing. That they knew the king, her husband, had appointed her son Isates his successor. They came into these measures, and Isates returned home and was received and gained peaceable possession of his father's kingdom. But whilst Isates resided in his fortress of Spasinia, a Jewish merchant whose name was Ananias, who was wont to have access to the women of the court, or the king's wives, and taught them to worship God according to the Jewish manner. By their means, an Annas was introduced to Isaetus, and brought over him likewise to the same sentiments. It happened also that Helene, this is the old word for Greek. It was Hellene before it became Greek, and this is the story of how it became Greek, was taught by another Jew and came over to their laws. When Isaetes had returned and seated upon the throne, understanding that his mother was highly pleased with the customs of the Jews, he became extremely desirous to enter fully into them. And understanding that he could not be a perfect Jew unless he was circumcised, he was disposed to that also. His mother, having notice of his intentions, dissuaded, other than persuaded, dissuaded him from it, fearing it should alienate his subjects. And you see the quotation stops here. This is just the writer's words here, and it starts back up. But fearing it should alienate his subject and provoke them to rebel, she also informed Ananias what advice she had given her son. And Ananias was of the same opinion with her, and told Isaetes that if he persisted in this design, he must necessarily leave him, for the people would impute this action to him, and it would not be safe for him to stay any longer in this country. He told him moreover that, and then back into the quote that's in the old writings, that he might worship God without circumcision if he did but fully determined to follow the Jewish institutions, for this was more important than circumcision. And having assured him that God would forgive him his not doing what he declined only out of necessity and for fear of his subjects of the king for a time submitted to what he said. However, he had not wholly abandoned his design. And so this is the key word here. He told him moreover. Every time you hear that word in the Bible, it means what I'm fixing to tell you is a total lie. It's not what it said. It's some bullshit I made up. So here it says, but while Isates resided in the fortress Spacenia. And over here, the first thing you notice is Isates is spelled Izaths. And it means is at has, the one that has it. And so it says the cat on the chair on. The cat on the chair on. The chair on is the throne. The cat is a chief musician, the one that's in charge of all the music, the cat. And you see it all through Psalms. Most of them start with the cat. Le Mans is a cat. Le Mans from skill, the cat from skill. The chief musician, a contemplation, the cat from skill. The cat on the chair on C is at has. Into space into share Acadelphi ben. Share Acadelphi ben. And so that means he was sharing the throne with his mother. And like I said a long time ago, that was the way the Natchez Indians worked. The great mother, her son would be the king, and she would serve with the king until she died, and then his daughter would share the throne with him, and she would be the new great mother. And this kept your son from trying to kill you and take the throne, and it would be passed from mother to son, and they got the story all twisted, but that's the way it actually worked. But whilst is it has resided in the fortress of Spacenia, the cat on the chair on C is it has, into the space in share on, or to share K, to share Acadelphibin. And I can't tell you what Acadelphibin means right now, but that's what I suspect. A bin is either a sun or a sign. It may be telling the time. And then the Judas, it is Vemporos, the Emporus. And the Judas, it is Emporus. And so they say that Empress is a merchant whose name was Ananias Anoma, Onum. Ananias is the name Onum. And then prose, fors it as the Gynakis, and this is the Gyna, Gyna, and then the Ik is like, and that means a fake woman. Not a woman is a Gyna. A Gyna, Ik is Greek for like, Gyna like, a woman like, feminine, as they see on, Eysion, they see on, a feminine as they see on. And so who was want to have access to the woman? He was wanting to be a woman of the court, of the basileus, of the vessel, those. The vessel is the body, the vessel that you're in is your kingdom. He was wanting to become a woman. He was wanting to be woman-like. And taught to them to worship God according to the Jewish manner. The did asking what as to Theon, your God, in Sabine. In Sabine is what they're giving here to this worship. in a Jewish manner, in Sabines as Judaeus. And it's where your word subordinate comes from. It's where your word submit comes from. Sebein, submission. And that's the Jewish manner, according, taught the women of the court to worship God according to the Jewish manner, in submission, as the Judaeus Patreon, Patrion, of the Patreon of the male hierarchy, on Kidodi, on DHDI, onto duty, what on this Nostan. Anytime you see a GNO, that's the knowledge, the Nosin. Nosin effemenos, effeminate, the nose in effeminate too. By their means, an anus was introduced, the nose in effemenos to is it has. Up the ass is what they just said, was introduced. Nose in effemenos. Akakinon, Kakeinon, I think. Akakinon. Nose in effemenos to is it has cockinon. Homos, O-M-O, the same like a homojos. The homos. I got the homos in red here. And they say it's another or likewise. Homo means the same type. Likewise. Soon on the peace. Soon on the peace. Soon have bitch. B-H-X-I-E. The X is the C-H. B-E-C-H-I-E. And soon have bitch. Do then Helen. This is do as in D-E-W. The key is the Vav, the W. Do then Helen. That's the old word for Greece. Is the Helen. The Helen homos. O-M-O-I-O-S. It looks like homos. Another of the same type. Of UQ is of hetero. This looks like E-T-E-R-O, of hetero, of the opposite. That's the way it's supposed to be. Of heterotinos. Of heterotinos Judaeus is split up on two lines here. Likewise, and the same sentiments, the same type, homo. It happened is this do here, D-E-W, do. It happened. Do then the Helen homos. It happened also that Helen was taught by, is just then, it made all that up, of another Jew, and came over to their laws. Did axe this on this tus. Did axe this on this tus. The canon. Did axe this on this tus. The canon. And so the canon would be what they're saying is came over to their laws, is the canon, the written law, met from within a Kiko Misty name. Medical, E-K is L, a Misty, the medical Misty, Nomus. Then the other side of this book is getting really difficult to see. But it looks like, the custom of the Jews is this word here. The Judea ethizin. This is where your word nations come from. Heathens, Ethiopia, eth is the customs. And then the understanding that he could not be a perfect Jew appears to be this word, be biased. Be biased, Judaeus. Unless he was circumcised. And so circumcised got a bunch of words in the Bible, but most of them have this peri in them. Much peri, Peritom, maybe Noito, peritomatio. And then his mother, having had the notice of these, his intentions, dissuaded him from it. That wasn't in the quotations here because he didn't want to write what it said. But it's down here where it says, the fuck, the QH is the fucking in Hebrew, and I'm sure it's the same here. How would you pronounce FH? FCH. Tutorials. The fuck tutorials. It's a job. And then this bottom part's easy to see because I was able to pull it up with this. But this appears to be a D. And you can see that they got some of these letters wrong here. But this is the fuck. The fuck tutorials. X, CHORIS. The chor is this periom, and this is another word for peri. Anything with a peri, they'll give circumcision. The kine on homo as the sign on appease. The sign on appease. To make the gods happy, get your circumcision. The soon have back into Theon, your god Sabine, to submit to. The Dion, and you can see the Theons, Sabine 8 pay twos, and that's just not matching up. And so what he's trying to say is, hey, it has? If you get circumcised, it'll cut down your risk of AIDS by 50 to 60%. But we can see some of this in the writings of circumcision. So in the Septuagint, this poem starts here at 9. And I don't see any punctuation in it except this T here that I haven't figured out what it means yet. And it says, do they pen, do they write of those, to the gods write it. The force of Ram so death on through thicken move. Through their seas what to the sperm so from within see this to his gene as what's on. And to off he through thick on through their seas a name is on them of the women, key W woman WMON, the woman to a name's on too. The spermatos, that which is from the spear, the spermatos. So from within see her it separate much this it too. Will be. To separate much this will be. To men, men is the Egyptian god of fertile. To men pan, arsenic on. And so they say that people that aren't circumcised have less chance of arsenic poison. They can stand more arsenic in their system. But yeah, that's the male, is arson, the fire. Appear it much, this it. Appear it much, the cest. They get a lot of this problem with incest. Appear it much. Appear it much, the cest. Then sark of this acrobustias. Acro means the tip, is what they say, isn't it? Acrobat means the tip to walk. The acrobust is the busties as. Acrobusties as summon west to. Vav, W-E-S-T-O. West to is death. East is the future and west is the death. This shami on, this sign on, through thicks. A name is on them who women. To pay Dion. To pay Dion. And Dion is the ancient hospital at the foot of Mount Olympus. This old ancient hospital here, Dion, from the capital city of Catering. It was a sacred place where the ancient Macedonians, it was the place where the kings made splendid sacrifices. And Dion means to pay homage to Zeus. To pay Dion, Octo, come her on, Peri, time, around the time this will be, to men, to the god of fertility, to men pan arsenicon. This it as gene as Amun, the father god. To see the Wicca genes, the native born servant is the Wicca genes. This week as sow, as plant. To see the argue round it twos. The argue round it twos. Away pantos via. Away pantos via by way of alatrio. Alatrio. That latrine to cover up. The alatrio. That last movie. As weakest in, as the weakest in, let to, EK is L, let to, the spermatose, so, the spermatose plant. Peritomb, around the tomb, around the time, this it will be, around the time, TMH. THS, this, it too will be. To see the Wicca genes this week as so. To see, argue round it to, argue around it to as west to, the death. He through thick move the pithos. Sarcasm on this, through thicken adjoin on. To argue round it as west to, W-E-S-T, the west to, the side of death. He through thick move the pithos sarcasm on. And so these are pithos. This is the sarcasm on. Pithos. And they all have sarcasm. And a huge amount of them have some kind of freaky gay shit going on them. And half animal, half man. And so it's letting you know that it's sarcasm. And so to argue around it as west to means you're going to read it Hebrew style from right to left. And so H is divide. And divide the death, the catch. Move epithets, epithos. And you don't see it here, but I'm sure that there's a punctuation here. It says read that H as a O. those epithos, the sarcasm on this, the death con, a join on. So where I found this, the techno trophies in, over here in Timothy 5, I read all this while I was making that, and what it is he's ripping on the presbyteros all the way through here. It's 25 lines of the press butter, the old people, the old slow ones, press the presbyteros, the press butter. And then when it reads backwards after that, it's the orat, the orator, a seer, the orat of serp, the orat of serp, to serp their money. And so I'm gonna try to get all 25 of these lines in a fast poem, and it's all pretty funny, but it rips on this presbyteros several ways. It's ripping on the kings. Alright, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.